Welcome back to the RGV Sports Show. My name is Brian Ramos. I'm your 5A football beat writer here at RGV Sports and the Monitor newspaper, and I am joined by.
My name's Andrew McCulloch. I'm your District 36A beat writer.
And I'm Raul Garcia covering 31-6A.
And we're here with you breaking down everything that happened in the first round of the playoffs, some exciting action going on across the Rio Grande Valley, and we're also going to preview some of these big second round football games we got coming up this weekend, starting on Friday and Saturday. So we started the playoffs with 30 teams, just 10 remain. Those 10 teams will go at it this weekend. Some of those 10 teams are going to play each other. So by that standard, we're going to have some of these teams advancing to the third round. So we're guaranteed at least, believe it's two teams into the third round because we have a couple All Valley matchups here in round number 2. But how did those teams get there? It was an exciting round 1 across the valley. We had some upsets go down. We had a bit of some shockers, and then we had some teams doing what they've been doing all year. So we're going to break down everything that was in week 1. And why don't we start off with at the 5A level with the Sharyland Pioneer Diamondbacks and what they were able to do, make program history in round 1 by beating San Antonio Southside 59-14. That is Pioneer's first playoff win in program history. And they did it in convincing fashion. They shut out San Antonio Southside 42-0 in the first half. And then in the second half, they kind of pulled their starters in the third quarter. So Pioneer was in complete control. Quarterback Eddie Lee Marburger finishes 19 of 23, 328 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Then he runs for 156 yards on just 6 carries for 3 touchdowns, taking the page out of Campbell Spates' book there with those kind of numbers. So Eddie Lee Marburger and the Diamondbacks, they just get the job done, and they punch their ticket to the second round. So congratulations to Coach Lee and that football program for getting that done. And now it's on to round 2 where they'll face a 9-2 Pflugerville Weiss team in Corpus at a neutral site at Cabinets Stadium. That is 7:30 Friday night. And that should be an interesting game. But Pioneer, they come into this one with one of the hottest offenses in all of Texas. And Pflugerville, I don't know if they'll be able to slow them down. But one positive for Pflugerville, last week they had in a 24-14 first round win. 2 of those touchdowns came on the defensive side of the ball with pick sixes. But Eddie Lee Marburger only given the ball away 3 times this year. He's up to 52 touchdown passes, just 3 interceptions on the season. So just crazy numbers for him. And if Pflugerville Weiss is going to be relying on those turnovers and hoping for some pick sixes, I don't know if Eddie Lee Marburger is going to be the guy to give it to him. So things looking good for Sharyland Pioneer. We'll see if they can keep on rolling into round number 2. And if they were to win, they would face the winner of Port Lavaca Calhoun and Bernie Champion in round number 3. So that is the only 5A team that advanced. All 7 other of the 5A teams lost. But Brownsville Pace fall to Corpus Christi Miller, 28-21. They lose on the goal line. They had with under a minute to play. They're set up at the 3-yard line, but they could not convert. And that was up against a 10-0 Corpus Christi Miller team. So credit to Brownsville Pace and the Vikings over in Mission for the first time. And I believe it's almost like 5 years. I believe I could be incorrect, but that Mission veterans had won 5 or 6 straight by district playoff games, but this year that run comes to an end as they lose to Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial, 66-37. And then Ed Couch Elsa, they go up against a big bad dog in Cal Allen, and they get shut out 35-0. And then Raul, you were at a good 5A game also.
Yeah, Mercedes and Eagle
Alice
were fighting it down to the wire in the jungle at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah.
That was a big game. Mercedes came out real strong. Their key running back throughout the season, Jared De Los Santos, was tough in the first, second half. He pulled off a 52-yard touchdown off of a third down, blasted through about three defenders to get through the hole.
Yeah.
Then cuts to the sideline, and then as he's running, you see the 2 defensive backs are coming at him, just like in like a V shape, and he spins. Well, I think he spins off another guy that came to get him from the back, and then he cuts in between these other 2 guys.
Yeah.
And then he's just running for another 30 yards with 5 guys chasing him.
Yeah.
He's kind of face masking his way through and just dove in.
It
It
was
was
one
kind
of
of
the,
exciting.
it was one of the most impressive runs I've seen all season. I think he broke through almost like 6 tackles on the play.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
He was dancing his way, spinning his way.
Yeah, absolutely. So credit to Jared De Los Santos and Mercedes Tigers.
Fortunately, they did lose.
Yeah, they put up a fight though.
put up a fight.
Yeah,
And
and
had some key turnovers. Coach was a little disappointed, but that's the way the ball. That's the way the coin toss. That's where the chips fall.
yeah,
Sometimes in the end.
absolutely. So yeah, Mercedes they lose 21-17 in a close one at home, but that Alice team, a really good team who advances to the second round, and then Sharyland High they go up against Steve Johnson and the big bad Port Lavaca Calhoun Sand Crabs, one of the most unique mascots in all of Texas, and the Sand Crabs handled business against Sharyland, 70-14 win over the Rattlers, and then La Jolla Palmview. They were the last team, got two more. La Jolla Palmview, they go on the road and they lose to Victoria West 44-7. And then Rio Grande City, they get to host a playoff game, their first time meeting the playoffs in 6 years, but they fall 49-14 to Flower Bluff. So a tough loss for the Rio Grande City Rattlers as that wraps up the season for all 5A teams, just one left standing. Sharyland Pioneer Diamondbacks, who said they want to carry that torch, and we'll see what they can do here as they move on to round 2.
It's up to the Diamondbacks now. Kind of a relief to see them get that first by-district playoff win in program history under their belt. Looks like those guys are poised to make a little bit of noise here in the second round and maybe beyond, though. So best of luck to the Diamondbacks moving forward.
Absolutely. Now we got some really big matchups, some valley-on-valley second-round matchups at the 6A level coming up in the second round. And these matchups, they feature your guys' teams in 31 6A and 36A going head-to-head. So
Yeah.
we're going to see who will prevail, and I guess who's moving on to the third round.
That's correct. This week will be an interesting week because it will be straight-up war between McAllen and Weslaco. We are, of course, talking about the McAllen Memorial Mustangs, who will go on the road to Bobby Lackey Stadium to face the Westco High Panthers, and the Weslaco East Wildcats, who will travel to McAllen to take on the Rowe Warriors. Spots in the third round up for grab in both of these matchups. Both should be high-powered games, good defenses, explosive offenses. These could go a lot of different ways. But before we get down into breaking down these matchups, let's talk about how these teams got here. And for both of these McAllen schools, they went on the road in round 1 and took care of business. The Rowe Road Warriors went to Laredo and topped the Laredo Alexander Bulldogs 42-28. Snaps a 4-game losing streak for the Warriors. Started the season undefeated. Faced a very tough stretch down the final month of the season in District 36A. And it looks like as soon as they got back to non-district play, that cured all of their woes. The Warriors finally have all of their offensive weapons back in the fold. Wide receiver David Savage was big in this last game, 5 catches, 77 yards. They got their 3-headed monster back in the backfield. We're, of course, talking about Nick Meehan, Lorenzo Lopez, and Joey Partita. Lorenzo Lopez, his second game back, second straight game over 100 yards this season. He ran for 154 and 3 scores in this one. Joey Partita added 2 receiving touchdowns and 99 yards through the air out of the backfield as a versatile running back. The story of this one was Jonas Ortiz, guys. He's been poised as maybe the best quarterback in this district all season. He has not made mistakes at all whenever it has mattered, and he was fantastic in this one. Completed 19 of 24 passes, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Didn't throw an interception, but snagged an interception playing defense and really helped the Warriors clamp down in the second half. They were trailing in this one 21-14 at halftime. They outscored the Alexander Bulldogs 28-7 down the stretch, including a 21-0 third quarter. So the McAllen Rowe Warriors, the last team to sneak into the playoffs from 36A, but they deliver a big statement on the road in Laredo. And then, of course, before the Warriors even took the field in Laredo, we had a heavyweight matchup between the 9-1 McAllen Memorial Mustangs and the district 29 6A champions, the Laredo United South Panthers. This one had a heavyweight match written all over it. You, of course, got Campbell Spates, potentially the best player in the Valley, up for a nomination to be the best player in the state of Texas this year. He was in for a tough matchup, though, with a good running back on the other side in Brian Benavides. Benavides for the Panthers ran for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their dual threat quarterback threw for 125 and a touchdown, too, in addition to running for 64 and a touchdown. For the Mustangs, situational defense was fantastic. They got off the field when they needed to. They limited the Panthers on 3rd and 4th down, didn't let them convert and extend drives. And this offense showed more balance in the win than they have all season long. Campbell Spates held to under 100 yards for the first time this season, but it didn't even matter. The rest of the Mustangs helped him get the job done. Spates, 81 yards and a touchdown. He's helped out on the ground by Michael Lewis, Andrew Salinas, and Fernie Briones, who also found the end zone on the day. But most importantly, Joseph Lara in this passing attack looked the best they have looked all season. Lara, 9 of 13 passing, a season-high 175 yards and 2 touchdown passes, no turnovers. He hits Zion Gregory 4 times for 136 yards and 2 long touchdowns. And, the knock on this Memorial team all year has been, once you get to the playoffs, can you keep moving the ball and scoring once teams figure out how to contain Campbell Spates? And I'm not saying that the Panthers contained Spates, but the Mustangs found a way, and they beat the Laredo United South Panthers 31-28 to set up this heavyweight tilt, these 2 heavyweight tilts this weekend against both the Weslaco schools. And Raul, how about you tell us how the Panthers and Wildcats got to this point?
Yeah, well, the Panthers were rolling on all cylinders after their opening loss to McCulloch Rowe, who's obviously going to face the Wesco East Wildcats. And it's going to be interesting for the Wildcats and Rowe once they hit the field, because they're both very good on both sides of the ball. But the Wildcats are really riding on the coattails of their quarterback, Ramsey Muniz, who is just if you can keep up with Ramsey, you may be able to keep up with the Wesco Wildcats, because they do have a threatening defense. They held 3 teams to scoreless. They held 3 teams scoreless on their way to undefeated district championship. So it'll be interesting to see if they come out with any passing attack or any any trick plays, because they're the ground and pound team, and when they run this scheme offense called the crazy run, that's when Vasquez really goes off, and he's gone off for about 70-yard runs for the end zone. So that'll keep the McCulloch Rowe pretty busy in trying to contain Vasquez.
It should be an interesting matchup because, the Rowe Warriors, they like to run the ball as well. It seems like it's going to be pivotal in this matchup to control that matchup on the ground. And the Warriors struggled against the run at the end of the season when they faced McCallum Memorial. Campbell Spates had his career best day against them in the final week of the regular season. So that might be a vulnerable place that the Wildcats can take advantage of offensively.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I know if the Wildcats are in any position where they do maybe have some turnovers, from what I've seen with the Nicky Rowe, is they capitalize on those turnovers, especially in that Mercedes game. They came back from behind. Absolutely. They had some a key interception. They covered some fumbles, and they found a way to win, and that's what Rowe does. But this is interesting on the side of the Wildcats. If Rowe can keep up with them, if they're not already blow by them with their pass attack, and with Jonas leading the way, it may be interesting. The thing about their first win over Wesco Panthers was whoever had the ball last. won that
Mhm.
game, and that was a shootout um, between Cavazos and Ortiz, and that may kind of come down to it with Lara and Cavazos, because
Absolutely.
when Cavazos and the Panthers fell to the West Go East Wildcats, that was a shootout. They had 60 seconds to go downfield, 99 yards, and that was the only time in a critical play I saw what I'm calling Superman in Jacob Cavazos, because by day he's wearing these spectacles. At game time, he takes them off, and he's no longer Clark Kent. This guy's running and gunning. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a real fun matchup. You're going to be able to cover Friday night.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that one. And I think you said it best right there. I think the Panthers' best shot to top the Mustangs is to turn this one into a shootout. Memorial's defense has been good as of late, but they've been, a little bit hit or miss week to week. Sometimes they clamp down, sometimes it turns into a shootout, and usually that's when teams play the Mustangs closest. If they get an early lead on you, they like to run the ball, use that ground and pound attack to control the clock. So I think for Weslaco to hang around in this one, they're going to need to get on the board early
Yeah,
and keep scoring off
yeah,
to prevent Memorial from running down that game clock.
definitely, like you've stated in the past. So Spates, he's gonna score in the first series. If not, he's gonna find a way to score maybe more in the fourth quarter. Um, West Coast's gonna have to rely on their read offense, led by Cavazos, and if he can see what's wrong with the defense, he may be able to, attack that or find their running back Peyton Knop. If he's not running the ball in all four cylinders, this guy has some hands, and that's almost always go-to third option, and that's what eventually won the game against those Fresnos to get to punch their ticket to the second round.
He'll certainly be a big X factor in this one. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how that Mustangs defense tries to contain Peyton Knob. And before we touch on your other team playing in the third round, let's touch on the two other 36A teams who were in action this past weekend, and potentially the two biggest heartbreaking and gut-wrenching losses of the first round. We'll start on Friday night in FAR with the PSJA High Bears losing a real mystery of a game. I was there, and I still can't really wrap my head around it, but the Bears got off to maybe the best start you could have ever asked for, going up 31-0 with 7.5 minutes left to play in the second quarter. Justin Morales was great in this one, threw for over 400 yards. Marco Guajardo had his biggest game of the season, over 150 receiving yards, and Miguel Flores and Ethan Castillo, those three big senior wide receivers, each found the end zone in the first two quarters, and it looked like the Bears were off and rolling in this one. And in the last 2.5 minutes of the half, Eagle Pass sneaks in to score 2 touchdowns, and kind of started to feel a little bit uneasy in the stadium, like, oh no, maybe the second half could be a little bit different. First series of the second half, a juggled pass gets picked off by an Eagle Pass linebacker who runs it back 85 yards for the score, and all of a sudden you're staring at a 10-point game right out of the gate in the second half, and it was ultimately too much for the Bears to stem the tide in this one, as the Eagle Pass Eagles score 42 unanswered points to erase a 31-point deficit and move on to the second round. Truly a heartbreaking loss for the Bears and PSJA fans. But this one was a little bit of bad luck mixed with a little bit of untimely play. 2 interceptions on the night were both bobbled balls that ultimately found the right person at the right time on Eagle Pass. And, quarterback Alan Rodriguez for the Eagles connected with his favorite receiver, Jacob Ruiz, 3 times for touchdowns to help him climb back into this one. And the score that ultimately iced it was a lateral to Ruiz, who threw it into the end zone for a touchdown pass. The Bears had a shot right at the very end. They drove the length of the field, down 11, needing a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to potentially get the ball back, kick a game-tying field goal. Justin Morales scrambles, dives for the end zone, and the ball comes out as he's crossing the goal line, rolls out of bounds for a touchback, and unfortunately, that was the fat lady singing for the Bears. Real disappointing way to go out, but fantastic season for those guys over there, repeating as the District 36A champs. Definitely not an easy task. And then Saturday, we had maybe potentially even a more gut-wrenching loss when the Mission Eagles took on the Laredo United Longhorns. This one got out of hand early, but the score was not indicative of how this one was played. At one point, the Longhorns were up 24-7 in the first half, but one of those scores was a defensive touchdown, and two of them were on 64 and 80-yard passes, which is a little bit deceiving because Laredo United goes into the half with only 3 completed passes on the day. Very rare for a team that throws the ball well and often and a lot. The Mission Eagles defense was fantastic in this one. They sacked Longhorns quarterback Hueo Huerta over and over and over again, forced him into a couple of interceptions, and in the last minute of the first half, they scored a touchdown with 30 seconds to go, kick off deep to Laredo United, sack their quarterback in the end zone to get 9 points, and then a field goal clanks off the crossbar as time expires from 49 yards out. Would have been good from 6 inches closer. A little disappointing, but 9 points there in the last 30 seconds of the half makes it a one-score game. The Eagles pitch a shutout for the entirety of the second half, down to the final 2 minutes and 21 seconds when Huerta rolls into the end zone on a scramble, and they retake a 7-point lead. Jeremy Duran, fantastic in this one, along with senior wideout Stevie Villarreal. Those two connect for 3 touchdown passes to help the Eagles storm back and retake the lead. But then they're faced with a similar situation. 2 minutes, 20 seconds. They got to go 86 yards to get into the end zone and tie the ball game with all 3 timeouts. And Jeremy Duran, just the ultimate poise pressure quarterback, 13-play, 86-yard drive, drives the Eagles the length of the field and connects with Sebastian Cortez on a 21-yard touchdown pass on a 4th and 11 to tie the game with 9 seconds left. The Eagles and Longhorns go to overtime, the only first-round game in 6A to go to overtime. The Eagles get the ball first, kick a field goal, and then on a controversial call, the Longhorns catch a pass in the end zone. A flag is on the field. To me personally, it looked like an offensive pass interference with the receiver pushing off. The ref calls it a defensive pass interference. The Longhorns decline, and the game is over. Mission falls by 3 at Tom Landry Stadium. Disappointing results, but Raul, one of your teams will be taking on those victorious Eagle Pass Eagles. And the San Benito Greyhounds will be taking on the Laredo United Longhorns in the second round as well.
Yeah, it looks like the Sabercats are gonna, go toe-to-toe with the Eagle Pass, and they came out of a close win against Harlingen High Cardinals, 42-35, and in a victory that pretty much went down to the wire too, with one touchdown, man. But the great thing is the Sabercats, they're in familiar territory. Even though they came out of district play third in something they're not very familiar with after going for their 4 and more district titles in 31-6A, they were able to defeat Harlingen and advance to the second round. And we'll see how they compete and compare with Eagle Pass.
Yeah, you got to like Vela's odds going into this one. In week 1 in the season, Vela went on the road to Laredo and knocked off Laredo United, who in terms of record had the best season in that Laredo district. Eagle Pass snuck into the playoffs as the 4th and final seed from that district. So you got to feel like if Vela could handle business on the road in week 1 against a team that's already handily beaten these Eagle Pass Eagles, then the Sabercats certainly have a very good shot to do it again.
And they definitely have a big chance with A.J. Sotelo, over 2,000 yards passing. His receiving core with Kevin Rojas, Vega, and Justin Vega and Cantu
Mm-hmm.
are superior on the field when he finds them, connects with them, and they know how to bring the ball down.
Absolutely. And if Edinburgh Baylor were to beat Eagle Pass, they would play the winner of San Antonio Brandese and San Antonio Schertz Clemens in the third round of the playoffs. And as for the two McAllen Westlaco matchups, the winner of McAllen Row and Westlaco East would play the winner of Austin Westlake and San Antonio Brennan, two very good powerhouse programs from the San Antonio and Austin areas up there. And the winner of McAllen Memorial and Westlaco High play the winner of San Antonio Madison and Lake Travis, which is one of the most storied programs here throughout the state of Texas.
Absolutely. So, congratulations to those teams left standing. Like we said, just 10. And with a shot to move on to that third round. So, those 10 teams, we hope they represent the RGV proudly, and they do right, man. I mean, they're left standing. Last year, we saw Mission Veterans went to the fourth round. The entire Valley rallied behind them. We'll see if any of these teams can put together a third or fourth round playoff run here in the 2019 football season. So, with that said, we'd like to thank our sponsor, the J. Gonzalez Law Firm. And we look forward. We'll be at actually all four of these playoff games. Andrew, where will you be?
I will be at Bobby Lackey Stadium on Friday night for the Mustangs and the Panthers. It's going to be a good one.
Raul?
I'll be in McAllen watching the contest between the Wesco East and McAllen Row.
And then we'll have Raul Garcia, a freelance writer, over in Laredo. He'll be covering Edinburgh Vela up against Eagle Pass over there. And then I will be in Corpus Friday night to see the Sherryland Pioneer Diamondbacks against Pflugerville Weiss. That's 7:30 p.m. So follow us at RGV Sports. Follow our individual Twitter accounts. We'll be providing in-game updates throughout as all those big plays are happening. Score updates, whatever, just interesting facts throughout the game. So keep it there at RGV Sports. Follow us on Facebook, and of course, pick up the paper to see everything that's going on. We got a bunch of different features coming out this week on all these playoff teams left standing. So make sure to go out and get that. And thank you for joining us. This has been the RGV Sports Show playoffs recap and breakdown show. We will be back to after this area round of the playoff to see what teams are left standing. So we'll catch you after the area round. Thanks for joining us.